Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about DNA test videos. Yes, this very popular trend here on YouTube and across the country has been getting mixed results online. We of course have covered a number of DNA test videos and most of them have gone terribly wrong, usually having to do with the people being a little surprised or sometimes upset with the way their test results turn out. Now, this, of course, is rather silly. We always say that you should take a DNA test and just be open and accept your results. Don't expect anything. Even if you've heard stories about your family, like don't think this or that. If you want to do this, go in with an open mind. And especially if you do have the urge and the need to film a video, try not to offend really, really big groups of people. You see, what usually happens, and a lot of these girls tend to be left leaning, they're not particularly political, but they're just young 20 something on YouTube. And those people just tend to be leftists these days. Leftism seems to be the default. A lot of these people are also from very liberal places, which brings us to today's example. Today, we're talking about a creator named Jennifer Fix. She works on YouTube. She's had a YouTube channel for a while. I've seen a few of her videos here and there. And this is an example of a DNA test she took a couple years back. Now, it's not super new, but I do think it's interesting because if you follow this character and a lot of these people online, these are all the same kinds of people that have gone full BLM. Like, as you can see by this clip, this is her Twitter. She supports Black Lives Matter. She posts a lot of stuff about the protests and like saying, oh, this is good. Like, oh, they're trying to complain about this chick getting arrested. And then they're posting pictures of the peaceful protest, like a lot of woke stuff on here. So I found this one rather interesting considering this context, considering we know that she's a BLM supporter and then she's taken this DNA test, which I think gets a little embarrassing. I don't think this is one of the worst ones we've ever seen. She's actually rather nice and rather kind of humbled by her test, but there are a few signs of things going wrong. There are a few signs where she's like, oh, I'm too white. Like she basically expected herself to be less white than she actually is. And I have to say, like right out the gate, I could see it. I mean, she doesn't look like anything but white to me. Like I think she has an Hispanic parent or something like that. And I think she also fails to realize like a lot of Hispanics and people from South America can be like mostly white. Like there's actually a kind of designation of Hispanics that are white Hispanic. Like a lot of people, even from like Mexico, like Venezuela, Brazil, like they're white people. They might have spoken Spanish or come from, Spanish backgrounds, but let's also not forget Spain is in Europe. Like the actual Spanish people are white. And if you know a little bit about history like I do, you know that the reason that there's Hispanic people is because Spanish people came to America and mixed with different races here, the locals and then the other people that came in. And that's what created this different race, this Hispanic race, which is a combination. But that's besides the point. The real point here today is this girl is upset about being mostly white, and that's what we'll see in this video. So let's go ahead and check it out.
Today is going to be an interesting video. So for the longest time, I've always wanted to do one of those like DNA ancestry 23andMe DNA tests because to be honest, I don't know what I am. A lot of people can't really tell what I am. Most people when they see me, they just assume I'm a white.
Okay, that's my first complaint on this because it definitely seems like we had to bleep that word. I had to cut it off, but she says she's like a white B word, like implying that white chicks are kind of not cool, like not good, like they're kind of, what a B word means, like they're just kind of mean and just it's showing the negative connotation. And then the other thing I'm seeing here is she's obviously white, like she is white, like she looks like every kind of feature is white. Like I think she has a small amount of Hispanic and we'll see the other results. Like there's other little parts of her background, but she ends up being majorly white and there's nothing wrong with that. That's the issue here is like these people see it as a negative and she says she's like a white B word, which I wouldn't call it that. I think white people can be great. White people can be beautiful and diverse. There's a lot of variety. There's a lot of good looking people in our race. And I think, this girl is cute. Like she's pretty. She has great features, great hair, nice personality. I don't see why she should be ashamed to just be white. Like she's already kind of like diminishing it. And she's also kind of like hyping up the fact that she might be these other things like, oh, I don't know what I am. But it's like, no, we know you're white. Like it's obvious you're white. Like you're not black, you're not Asian, you're not any kind of other farther thing. Like you might be a little bit of an offshoot or mixed version of white, but you look like that. And I think the introduction already shows the kind of biasness we're getting into.
Which I probably am. I don't know much about my ancestry other than my mom and her family comes from Nicaragua, and my dad and his family comes from Germany. So those are kind of the only that's the only information I have. But I wanted to dive deep into my ancestry, find out where I came from, where I originated, because I don't want to live my life not knowing what I am.
Well, this isn't going to tell you who you are. This is another big mistake a lot of these YouTubers make. I mean, you know that your parents are from Nicaragua and Germany. That's great. Nothing wrong with that. Those are fine places. Anywhere someone's from is fine. But she's kind of like reaching. She's trying to like search for more that's just not really there. Like you already know who you are. And then the other thing is you could see a lot of faith and a lot of investment being put into this DNA test, which is a big mistake too. And it's not really going to tell her who she is. Like, you know who you are, Jen. You know who you are by growing up with yourself and learning to go to school and become an adult and all this stuff. Like, you know who you are. Some test that tells you what kind of genes are in your DNA and your blood and where they trace back to on different parts of the planet. Like, that doesn't tell you who you are. Like, just because your great, 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 great grandma was born in Europe or something, like, you're not from there. Like, you have some history and like a bloodline, of course, but you already know who you are. And this test really isn't going to change anything. It's just kind of like an interesting anecdote, but the way they set it up and the way they put it on this pedestal, that's what sets them up for defeat. And that's why it gets so cringy in the end.
Finally got my results. I have not looked at them yet. And as soon as I found out I got my results, I was like, I have to film this video so I can get my reaction on camera and find out, everything about me. So before I look at my results, I'm gonna do a quick little prediction of what.
Okay, this prediction should be good, but I do like the self-centeredness of it, or I think it's just funny. Like, she wants to find out everything about her. She wants to do it on camera, get in on this trend. And that just kind of highlights the whole trend of this, the whole kind of hipster vibe. Like, everyone's doing a DNA test. This is what YouTubers do. They get the test out there. They put their things up on the screen. They talk about the same kind of videos. Like, all these vloggers have these trends. Like, there's a DNA video, and then there's a video, like, for example, they'll have a breakup video or a engagement video, or there's a video where they're like, I graduated from college. Like, there's just these certain titles that they all go for. And this is what she's getting into. I mean, not the worst thing in the world, but it's just definitely kind of like the simpleton kind of thing. She doesn't realize what she's getting into. And she's going to get surprised by this, and we're going to get some genuine reaction. So it is a good thing for that, but I don't think it's going to play out the way she thinks. I don't think this girl actually gets particularly racist or super offensive, but it's just very interesting. And knowing that her background is this kind of woke leftist, she's from Los Angeles, she supports BLM. This is what's coming out of that area. It's a kind of very, very subtle anti-whiteness. Like, they're not stoked about being white. They're more interested in all these little other minority races. And it just shows how like focused on identity they are.
Okay, here it is. Jennifer, explore your ancestry through your DNA. Oh, wait. 25% British. I just saw something. I don't want to look. Hold on. Let's see. I am 86.5% European. I'm way wider than I thought I was. 25.
So yeah, you could see that tone. Like, there's definitely a surprise, and then like way wider, like saying whiter like it's a bad thing. Like, it's very, very obvious the kind of intent and what she's thinking there. I mean, I don't want to mind read her totally. You could see her results on the side here. You can judge her reaction for yourself. But she looks at the first thing, and this is the biggest one, 86% European, and she's shocked, and she says she's whiter than she thought, which I don't think sounded very excited or happy about that. And then when she focuses on these little other ones, that's where it gets interesting to me, because she focuses on these small percentages, and she gets all into them, but she totally brushes over like the bigger, larger percent. It's like, dude, why don't you talk about being British? It's like, no, she focuses on being 0.3% something else.
5.7% British and Irish.
So here's where it gets really bad. We had to bust her out. We had to bleep her cursing there. This is a bit of a crass video, but basically she said WTF when she realized she was so much British. Now she's questioning her existence, because I mean, is that so bad? Like, British? I mean, I was British. I did a DNA test. I ended up being actually all almost all British too. Like I was very much similar results to this, except she has a lot more outliers and smaller percentages from other places. Like I was like totally British, like almost completely, besides a few places and closer by places in Europe. But the point is, yeah, this is a bad reaction. She's questioning her existence because she's British and white. And she said, WTF, like she is super, super not stoked about this.
I had no idea I had British in me. I knew I had Irish in me because my dad's grandma was Irish, but British, 11.2.
Okay. Irish and British are super close, dude. Like you shouldn't be that surprised. Like these are two islands that have a small little bit of water in between them. And Britain has land on Ireland. Like North Ireland is part of Britain. Like these are the British Isles. They're right next to each other. So I don't know why you're so surprised by that. Like I think British is just negative more because it has the colonial past. Irish almost can get them victim points. They're like one of the few kind of white groups that have a lot of oppression in their past that's obvious and everyone knows about. But British, I think, is giving her a lot of negativity because of the colonial past, which they say is negative now. And they say it's like the most racist thing. Obviously, that's not true either.
2% French and German. I thought I was going to be like, all of it was going to be German because I know that my dad's family came from Germany. I'm only 11% German? Wow, that is weird. 7.3% Iberian. So that's Iberian. That's the Iberian Peninsula. 2.9% Scandinavian. Ooh, fancy. 0.3.
Okay, Scandinavian is, again, white, but I think that reaction is just interesting because they're looking for like these little outliers to get them like bonus points. Like, oh, British is bad. Like the bigger, the more popular British English countries are not as interesting. In fact, they got her questioning her existence, but being a little bit Scandinavian, oh, that's interesting. Scandinavians up there, that's a little bit of a smaller region, even though they're white too. Like, I mean, that's not really like as race based, but it's like they're going for these little kind of little parts of their race and they're focused on it so much.
3% Ashkenazi Jewish. I don't even know where that is. 25.3% broadly Northwestern European, 7.7% broadly Southern European, and 6.1% broadly European. So white, basically. Okay, next.
So white, basically. Okay, so I don't want to mind read again. I'm not trying to say what she's thinking, but that doesn't sound like a happy reaction. So white, basically. I mean, like, that's a negative reaction to being found out that you're mostly white, which is something we easily predicted at the beginning of this. Like, she looks wholly white. I don't know where she's getting all this ideas of being something else. Like we said, Nicaragua and a lot of South America is white as well. Like, these aren't places that, people have this false idea that everything outside of America, like south of the border, is super brown. And it might seem that way. Like, Mexicans are brown and there's a lot of Hispanics, but there are a lot of white people down there too. And a lot of people in history, like there's white European descendants. Like Hispanic isn't automatically better. Like they're from Europe too. We're talking about Spanish people coming to mix with South Americans. Like I don't get this whole kind of thing. It's super weird.
I'm only 10.5% Nicaraguan. Wait, I'm confused. Native American. Which America am I native to? It doesn't say what country. I'm assuming that it's Nicaragua?
Okay, this is just showing what she doesn't know. Like, I don't know what kind of, there's obviously a lack of education here. This thing tells her Native American, it's all these Americas. It's just a broad, like she has 10% of natives. So not the European settlers that came in the 14, 15, 1600s. Like this is people that were here before they called native. They've been there for 15,000 years. And yeah, I guess there's similarities. I mean, I'm not going to argue for this test. Like, I'm not really sure how they break it down. This is a giant region, but this girl is just confused a little bit because she doesn't know what's going on. Like, she doesn't understand the history and the stuff like that. That's fine. She's young. She's not a history major, but it is kind of like embarrassing. This is an awkward situation. And I think we can already see how bad this has gotten. This is a very kind of anti-white reaction, low key. Like I said, I'm not trying to call people super racist. Like, I think she still seems nice. She seems like a fine person. I'm sure a lot of people enjoy her content, but this is the kind of reaction that comes from, again, like a typical leftist. Like I said, when I checked around on her profile and was looking into stuff, it's like, yeah, Black Lives Matter girl doesn't like being white. I mean, is that really surprising anyone? Like, this is exactly to be expected. This is what happens when you're liberal indoctrinated. You're growing up in California. She's from Los Angeles. She's been there, I think, a lot of her life. And this is the kind of thing that comes from that. It's just bad anti-white thoughts. You're not really thinking clearly. You don't understand race. You don't even know the history of it and how things work. And they're just focused on this anti-white stuff. And yeah, I think that's a part of it too. I think a big part of today is just being a little ignorant, not knowing how you look when you react in these certain ways. Like, I'm not trying to be super hypersensitive or offended, because I'm not, but I think these kinds of DNA test videos are very interesting, especially when it's so obvious. Like, this is like another one. Like, we had other ones like this. Like, I think the last one we did was that Norwegian girl who was surprised she was all Norwegian. And if you looked at her, it's like, yeah, you look Norwegian. You look just like white, blonde hair, blue eyes. Like, there's nothing wrong with that either. Like, you just look white. It's just how they look. And then this girl is so obviously like that too. I mean, I could see her having some kind of like Hispanic influence, but she's certainly not as crazy Hispanic as she thought or predicted. So with all that said, I think that about wraps things up. You guys get the point. If you want to check out the full video, there's comments and links to it below. Also, make sure you comment your thoughts on this video below. Tell me what you think. Did you enjoy this talk about more DNA stuff? We could do another DNA test video, maybe a follow-up or something if we have the time. If there's interest, we'll put it out there. But until next time, you have a great day. Hit the like button if you get a second, if you enjoyed this video, and have an awesome time. We'll see you on the next one.